the stand. Now he runs. He produces a magic print. He pulls out another one. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is 15 out of 10 of the incredible meter. What a player. What an entertainer. Give him the medal. Give him the Dally M medal.
Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. We're here on our Wednesday, and you know what that means. It is wrap-up time for round 10 of the NRL Supercoach season and a bit of a preview heading into round 11, everything that we're going to be looking at doing, trades, captains, etc. But let's start with how we went in round 10, shall we? Once again, for those of you who are listening on audio platforms, this one is being filmed. So we have the face cam, we've got the video footage, you can see the team, you can see a bit more stuff that we're going to be doing. So if you are more of a visual learner or you just want to interact and connect with me a bit more, head over to the YouTube channel. That is the place to do it. For those of you who have been watching on the YouTube channel, very sincere thank you to all of you. You are putting in a lot of support, getting lots of likes, lots of views, lots of comments and DMs from you guys as well. So I really do thank you guys for that one. If you guys are only here for the Supercoach content or you're not quite sure, I do post a lot more other content, lots of other podcasts focusing on normal NRL. And then we have the Instagram. We've got more content on there, a bit more Supercoach stuff, etc. And a lot more in the works. We're doing a lot of hard shifts this week, getting a lot more content ready for that Instagram. So go check that out. That's at Chip and Chase Podcast. But let's get right into it, shall we? As you guys can see up on the screen, this is how we went in round 10. 1,147 was our score. So the top 11% of players, which means we moved up 646 ranks to the season rank of 5,061. So another increase, another green arrow there. Not a substantial one, but hey, we're just happy to be chipping up the fairway at this point in the season. You know, round 9, week before, was our first going down arrows, our first red arrows. So it's good to just start to slowly, chip back into that. And 646 ranks, I don't mind where we're going or how much we're raising as long as we're going up. And that's what we're doing here. So that puts us into a season rank of, as I said, 5,061, a total score for the season of 11,088. It's the top 3% of all players at the moment. I'm quite happy with where we're at, as you guys know. We've been saying it every week. Last week, we made some errors. Even this week, we made some errors. If you watched last week's podcast, you would have known that my trades in that video were Scott Drinkwater in and Dominic Young in. Well, spoiler alert, or maybe not a spoiler if you guys saw the Instagram, which is where we kept you guys updated. We didn't end up going those trades. We went with a more surefire idea to shore up our team a bit, which meant, look, we'll get into that right now, shall we? Let's go straight into the team. We'll read through all of the team, but first let's have a look. You guys can see there is no Dominic Young in my side. It's tough. The worst part was we could have boosted as well. Once Roger Tuivasa-Sheck went down, why didn't I just boost? He was out anyway. I could have just boosted to Dominic Young. It's tough. Look, we will get in. Let's just start with that. The trades, we said it in the podcast last week, were Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad to Scott Drinkwater, and I think it might have been, Jack Bostock, I think, was who we traded, to Dominic Young. We reversed that. We went Bostock to Armstrong. I felt like it's a surefire cash generator who is playing and scoring, which is better than just not having one. So getting in Armstrong for that cash and then turning Joe Chan into Britton Nickera felt like the right thing to do. It got rid of someone who was an AE nightmare and at max price of $300K in Joe Chan. And it got us a gun in Nickera who just shores up that second row, plays the buys. Really good trade. I liked it. And it got in Armstrong, who ended up playing, and he scored 68 points, which was great. I liked it. Like, the trades make sense on paper. I think it was the right thing to do. It just kills because you guys know that I had Dominic Young traded in, and then he scored 160 points, and I ended up not having him. And it hurts even more that I could just use the boost and got rid of Roger, who I knew was out, and I had time to do that, and I didn't do that. So I missed out on that. It's not all doom and gloom. if I was to bring Dominic Young in, if I was to go with the trades that we originally said in the video, it meant Chance was going to be going to Scott Drinkwater, which meant I would have captained Drinkwater, who scored like 59, which is substantially less than Walsh. And, you know, Chance scored 72. So Chance ended up outscoring Drinky. So, yeah, we missed out on the 160 from Dominic Young, but we would have got a captain score of 100 and... what's that, 118, as opposed to a captain score of 186, which is where we were at with Reece Walsh. So, yeah, there's swings and roundabouts, and that's the tale of Supercoach, isn't it? So we're not going to dwell on that too much. It's just, yeah, it's a shame that we missed out on Dominic Young. Spoiler alert, when we get to trades, I'm not missing out again. He is going to come into the side this week. But let's get through the rest of the team recap, shall we? Starting at hooker, Harry Grant, he started for us, scored 44. Was very killer this. I think he had about 39 points in about 30 minutes before halftime. Then he had that sin bin. And then, you know, of course, that's the minus 10 points. Then you lose out all the points that he's off the field where he could just be scoring regardless. So he ended up on 44. That's not bad with the sin bin, as I said. So, as I said, essentially you can put 15, 20 points onto that score, and it's where he should have been by the end of the game, which would have been a lot better than the 44. It's tough. It was a pretty soft sin bin, which we all sort of know, hence why he's got off at the judiciary without a fine, without anything. He challenged, he won by unanimous decision. Yeah, it was a bad call, but you live and die with that. There's going to be some tough calls in Supercoach. It sucks when it happens to your team, but you just got to move with that. So 44 points, not the best, but hey, what can you do, really? Jaden Brayley ended up playing the full 80, so we didn't play him this week because we got scared of how he went last week against the Warriors, where he only played like maybe half the game. But 51 points, it's not a fantastic score, but I don't mind. Like 51 points in 80 minutes isn't fantastic, but 51 points at face value in general is good, and him playing 80 minutes is good. So he's going to hopefully look to raise a bit more in price. We didn't end up putting a reserve on him. Break even to 49, so he probably won't go up too much more. But I'm happy with having Jaden Brayley for those buy rounds, and I just love him as a player, one of my faves. So, yeah, didn't get the 51 points for our score, but, you know, it presents a playable option for the next few weeks. Jack DeBellin in our front row, 75 points. Another try for Jack DeBellin, 200 metres. He's a proper weapon. The thing about Jack DeBellin, we brought him in, his base, a lot of it is coming from tackles. He just makes 50 tackles a game and there's 50 points. Dragons, when they're winning games, he's not making that many tackles. I think he only made about somewhere in the 20 odd of tackles this week. It's a lot less points than he usually gets. The try certainly helped, and of course, he's just had a really good game in meters. So 75 points, really happy with that. I'm so happy to own him, especially coming into these bye weeks, and the flexibility to our front row forward, 2RF. I just, yeah, really happy to own Jack DeBellin. Josh Curran, only 44. He's been slowly falling off a bit of a cliff. Not a cliff as per se. He hasn't been dropping that steep, but not the scores that we really want from him. 44 we can live with, though. It's not the end of the world, so we'll move on from that. Terrell May, we didn't end up playing him. Just the Roosters have so many forwards. We played him the week before for his massive one, but yeah, didn't really want to risk it this week. 58 points, really good score. Going to be playing him this week, obviously, in Jack DeBellin's absence. Yeah, if he's scoring 58, so I'm not too upset about that. Sam Hughes, 39 points from him. He's a peak price now. What's his break even? 50. Potentially could hit it, but I really do doubt it. It's been really good. It's been a slow burn for sure, someone we've all had since the start of the season, and it's taking us, till round 10, 11 now to start selling him. But we've made almost 200k on him. We can be happy with that, and we can move him on to someone. The other thing is you could just hold him. Like, he's not the best scoring option, but there's not too many front rows out there. And he does play this opening buy round. I think he plays 16 as well. So there's potential there. I'll probably look to sell him in the coming weeks, but he's definitely not a big fire in my team I have to put out as yet. Moving into the second row forwards, Angus Crichton once again killing it. My king, 99 points. Yeah, what can I say? I harp on about him in this. I harp on him about in my normal podcasts. He's the GOAT. He's so good, and we're so happy to own him and get those 99 points. We talk about the Crichton of old and getting back to that. What he's doing at the moment is more than the Crichton of old. This is ridiculous what he's doing. Like, what's his 4-round average of like 120, 130? 3-round average of 123, 5-round average of 100. Like, this is ridiculous. Get rid of these projected scores. And he's gone 119, 150, 99, even before that, a 52, 79, and 83. He's so good. If you don't own him, it's a tough watch. He's almost season defining, is Angus Crichton. I assume he's going to be in the frame for Origin. We'll have to wait and see about that. But we'll deal with that when it comes. Britton Nikora, one of our trade-ins, 57 points. Happy with that. Again, it's up against the Storm. I didn't expect massive attacking stats, and I know the Sharks have a difficult draw, so I brought him in knowing that. So don't crucify me about that. I just think it was a smarter decision to shore up my second row. There weren't too many other second row options I wanted. I couldn't quite get to Adam Fanua-Blake at front row and move to Bellin or Curran down. So I ended with Nikora, who I wanted anyway. I think he's someone I'm going to want for the season. Decent buy schedule with the Sharkies. He doesn't play Origin, obviously, as a Kiwi. Happy to own him, and 57 points at face value. Happy with that. Beau Fermor, we ended up playing him, and he's rewarded us 76 points. He had a great game, Beau Fermor. Loved watching him play in that one. Getting back to where he was of old. Hopefully, still no tries from him. I did put you guys onto a sneaky try score bet for him last week. Hopefully, he didn't get on that because he hasn't quite got there yet. I still believe it's coming. Not sure if it's this week with the Titans in a bit of a crisis with all of their halves out and fullback and etc. But 76 points from Beau Fermor. We're really, really happy with that. Kai Pearce-Paul, 41. He was a late switch to the bench, which is why we ended up not playing him, as you guys can see here. Ended up just playing Fermor, taking the reserve off him, and we put that one on Armstrong by the end of the game. Sorry, not at the end of the game, before the game. But yeah, 41 points from Kai Pearce-Paul in about 40 minutes. Really good. Like, it's really good PPM, but it's not a score good enough that I want to be playing him. He's named on the bench again this week. So he's an interesting little one. A lot of people looking to sell. It's not a bad option, but also he still does play round 13. I don't know. We'll assess that in the future. Morgan Smithies didn't play on the bye. Viliami Fafita, our Nuff, did not play. Nicho Hynes. Now, this one was the kicker. Nicho Hynes, of course, was a late withdrawal for that Sharky Storm clash, so did not play. Luke Brooks, for me, had already played, so I couldn't put him into my halfback role and get that score, which is a shame because Luke Brooks scored 62, which is his best score for a long, long time. Let's actually have a quick look at that, shall we? Probably his best score since round 3 or something. Yeah, it's his best score since round 2. He went 59-80. Oh, it's his second best score of the season, and I didn't play. I've sat through these 40s and 50s, but yeah. Oh, well. It's not the end of the world. We ended up getting our Nuff, which, of course, was pretty decent with a Sam Hughes 39. It's not a bad Nuff at all. Not enough. What do you call it? AE, sorry. But a little bit of a shame. Would have preferred Luke Brooks, but that's what happens. There would have been people in a lot worse situations than me having Nicho Hynes as your starting or even your captain and not being able to replace if you'd already played Cleary or whatnot. So it happens. That's Supercoach. I'm actually quite happy it did because I think stuff like that sort of keeps me in rounds. I need a bit of carnage here and there. But we move on. Luke Brooks, as we just mentioned, 62. Didn't play him, unfortunately. Dylan Brown, 96. He's back. This is where we want Dill Brown to be scoring. I mean, this is luxury, let's be honest. Scoring 90s, 100s. It's luxury, but we know he can do that, and I'm so happy to own him. He looks good. Lockie Galvin, 54. Junk time points. We've mentioned it already. It's the story of my season, is just getting some junk time points. He's got a try assist essentially near the final 2-3 minutes of the game. I don't even think he should have got the try assist, let's be completely honest. But he did, and I'm happy for that for my Supercoach points. Into the centre wing, which is interesting. This is one of our most stacked positions. It probably is our most stacked position. And a few dud scores in here. 36 from Ruben Garrick, who was our VC. So obviously didn't loop that. Yeah, not great, but what can you do? Valentine Holmes, 56 in a game that we thought that they should have been scoring a lot more. You'd like a lot more, but hey, oh well, 56. As I said, that's like his lowest. Even when he's playing poorly, which he is, in my opinion, playing poorly, he's scoring 56. So we'll take it. Jesse Ramian, 74. Love that from him. This is where I wanted Ramian to be sitting. I really thought he could just average, maybe not average 74. I think 63, which is what he's averaging, is sort of where I expected. But I wanted more attacking stats, and I knew that he could get to 70s and above with attacking stats. 74, beautiful. I assume, 2% of players, maybe 3 now own him. Still 1% of players. I doubt anyone's jumping on them with the draw. So I'm so happy to still be owning my boy. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, my trade-in from a few weeks ago. The pod I went for instead of Cleary. It hasn't worked out, but at the same time, if we went Cleary, it would have been worse. So what can you say? 23 points. It's not good. He's dropped a lot of money, almost 200K. He's going to drop again. I think I hold him, to be honest. Maybe it's me being stubborn. If you do own Dallin, it's not a bad sell at all. I think the Warriors are in struggle street. No Sean Johnson. Chan's into the 5/8 role. I don't see points coming, especially with the Broncos this week. But I'm going to be stubborn and hold Dallin Watene-Zelezniak for when the Warriors hopefully come good. I don't know if they fully come good, but they've got a few easy runs, a few easy games in there, especially during the bye period. Now, they only play 16 of the major bye rounds, but they cover all of the mini ones. We know how the Warriors normally are in the bye rounds. Everybody's struggling with origin and restings and blah, blah, blah. Warriors are normally pretty settled. So I'm going to hold him, even if he drops to 300K. That's tough, but I think there'll be value in him by the end of the season. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, as we know, done the hamstring. He didn't play, and he's out for, I believe they've said 6 or 7, might even be 8 weeks. I can't recall. I think they're looking to bring him back around like 16 or 17. So he's looming as a sell, which is a shame because he's been basing really well, but it's not that bad to get off these Warriors players. Just jump ship, abort ship. Cal Iro, 48. Again, he's doing it all in base. He'd be near top dollar now, yeah. 35 break even, so he can go up a little bit more. He'll get to around that 500K. Definitely not a pressing sell at any point. He's still someone you can play pretty safely in your starting 13s or your starting 17s. Happy to own him with the Sharks draw as well with their bye schedule, so I'm just going to keep him. 48 points, not the best, but again, face value, that's just base. Happy for that. David Armstrong, 68. We did end up playing, as we said earlier, instead of Kai Pearce-Paul. 68, he rewarded me with that. Could have been a lot more. There is a try and a try assist in those attacking stats, so it's not ideal, but again, we're just taking stuff on face value a lot of the time. 68 points at face value, really good, happy with that. Reece Walsh, we captained, 93 points, doubled to 186. He was the best score of my week. Angus Crichton beat him by just, Dylan Brown beat him by just, but they're right up there with the best options I had this week to captain. He repaid that faith, and as I said, if I ended up going the Drinkwater trade, Drinky would have went a lot less than Walsh. So we're happy with the 93, as I said, doubled to 186. Chance Nickel-Klukstad, who we kept in our trade, 72 points for the try in a game that, look, they weren't rolled. They were rolled early, the Warriors, but they fought their way back into the game a little bit. Never enough that they could, make up the lead that they let in, the deficit they let in, I should say. But 72 points, it's good. We're happy with it. Unfortunately, he's going to be a trade out this week. I know I looked to trade him out last week. In the end, I reversed it thinking, look, he had one bad score. He's been averaging 90 around that. He's been named at 5/8 this week, and I'm just not here for it. If he's at 5/8, I just don't see the workload. I don't see his base being 40 anymore. And I don't see the Warriors scoring points. Like, I know he's going to try to be in everything, which is great. Chance is fantastic, and I love him. And maybe I'll look to pick him up in the future. In a very ideal world, he plays 3 games at 5/8. He gets the duel, and I'd bring him in as a 5/8 for the back end of the season. But I will be looking to sell him this week. But that is how our team traveled. So as we said, 1,154, I think was my score, 1,157 maybe, around about that. Happy with that. A lot of people went bigger, but we made green arrows in a week that a few things did not go our way. Again, if we're getting green arrows without owning Dom Young, it's pretty darn good. So that will move us into the team list news. So that's of course is over on their screen. So that is why I'm looking over here. We're just going to run through a bit of everything, all the ins and outs. Starting with the Raiders and the Bulldogs. So Jordan Rapana is back for the Raiders after 4 games out with an injury. Albert Hopewade goes the 18th man, and Rapana's back in at fullback. Only change for the Raiders there. While the Bulldogs, they have not made any changes. The Sea Eagles and the Broncos are next. Now, this is the big stuff. As we know, Tom Trbojevic has done another hamstring. He is now out. They've elected to go with Tolutau Kula at fullback, the king of last year. He's not saved my season because I didn't end up going all too well last season. Ended up at about 7,500th, I think I ended at. Tolutau Kula, he saved me though because I bought him in as my last trade for the last 2 weeks. 122, 188. We doubled that 188 too. He's back at fullback. It's very tempting to get on him. He's at a nice little price of 570k. He's fullback centre wing dual. We know what he can do in his games at fullback, but keep in mind it's a small sample size of 2 games, and they were against the Tigers and the Bulldogs, who were awful. Now, Manly aren't going that great as well. They've got a tough run. They've got Broncos this week. I think they get the Storm the week after. Then they miss the bye round, and then, I don't know, Panthers maybe. It's a tough little run for the Seagulls. So if you're going Tolutau Cooler as a pod, just be very wary of that. Have that knowledge in the back of your mind. He can still go big. I still think he has that potential. Just getting his hands on the ball more, his speed, his acceleration. He's going to burn plays. He's going to create opportunities. But Broncos, Storm, and I think Panthers or Roosters, it's a tough draw. I'm going to wait. I assume he keeps that fullback role. We know Trbojevic is out for 7 to 8 weeks. I'm going to target him around 14, 15 when they come back against the Titans. So I'm going to wait, but if you do jump on him, you have that in the back of your mind. Other changes for the Seagulls. Raymond Vallega I should pronounce the full name. Raymond Tuimalo Vallega is on the wing, with Jackson Paulo also going onto the wing. Jason Saab's out, and Tommy Talau has moved into centre to replace Cooler, who's gone to fullback. Garrick's doing the centres. The rest of their team, pretty stock standard. Homale Olakawatu returns from suspension, so big win for all of you Homale owners. Beyond that, not too much. Ben Trbojevic has kept his spot in the starting second row for all owners there. For the Broncos, Jock Madden has returned from injury at halfback, so Josh Rogers, the little dream that we had there, a pipe dream, let's call it what it is, he is gone. But good to see Jock Madden back in there. Rest of their team, pretty stock standard. Tyson Smoothie is starting at hooker with Billy Walters out. Blake Moser, the young gun, is on the bench. Nothing to note there. We're not going to be targeting a Tyson Smoothie. We're not going to be targeting a Blake Moser off the bench either. And I'd assume nobody owned Billy Walters. So we move on from that into the Titans and the Knights. Titans have been savaged by injuries, which is sad because they were starting to find some good form. Keanu Keeney is the fullback. Alofiana Khan Pereira, Jojo Fafita are the wingers. Brian Kelly and Aaron Shoop is coming into the centres. So that's Shoop or Shop. I've never figured out how to pronounce his name. I want to say Aaron Shop and Alofiana Khan Pereira. They come in for Philip Sami, who is out with I think it's another hamstring injury, and Harley Smith-Shields, who's out with a pec injury. Chris Randall has been named at 5'8" again. Didn't play there last week with AJ Brimson playing there, but now Brimson is out for, I think it's 5 to 6 weeks. So Randall's named at 5'8", and Sam Verrills is named at halfback. So they have 2 hookers as their starting halves, which means their number 9 this week is Aaron Clark. Their forward pack is relatively unchanged. It's still solid as ever. But yeah, very tough old backline for the Titans. I'm worried about owning them. Keep in mind, Tom Weaver is named at 18th man. I think he has to come in. I haven't been awfully impressed with Tom Weaver in his starts in first grade. We know he's been a gun coming through the grades. Haven't been that impressed, but he's also coming into a struggling Titans side. Titans have always had a bit of a struggle with. They always have these incredible junior halfbacks. You think Tanner Boyd, Toby Sexton, Tom Weaver, all of these Australian schoolboy halfbacks, and they haven't been able to get the best out of all of them. I think there's a lot in Weaver, and I think regardless of whether or not he's performed amazingly, you have to play him in the halves. I'd assume he comes in, moves Verrills to 5'8", and Randall, I don't know, to hooker. I don't know. We'll have to see how it is. But Tom Weaver, I think he has to play in this one. Also, cool to note, Tony Francis, 19th man. We highlighted him in the preseason if you guys were still around for then. Big, strong winger. Well, not massive as in like height-wise, but very much in the mold of Greg Marju. If he does get a shot at any point this season, he will be one to watch. I really, really like him as a player. Bottom dollar, obviously. But hopefully we can see him get a debut soon. Moving over to the Knights, not much to note here. Bradman Best and Tyson Frizzell were in doubt. They have been named, but we'll have to see if they are late withdrawals. Jack Cogger comes in at 5'8" for the injured Tyson Gamble. So tough luck there for Tyson Gamble. David Armstrong still at fullback, but also important to note, Fletcher Sharp, his name has finally appeared. He's in jersey 22. I doubt he plays, as we said. Knights are 3 from 3 with David Armstrong in the side. He's been playing some good footy. But Fletcher Sharp is a gun. I've got such high raps on him, the Cessnock boy. I'd love to see him get a run. Don't want him to take Armstrong's spot, not just from a Supercoach perspective, but for a Knights fan, it'd be really tough for David Armstrong to go so well and then get dropped. But hopefully we can see Fletcher Sharp at some point, maybe even on the wing. We'll have to see. For the rest of their team, Jacob Saifiti comes in for Daniel Saifiti, who is out suspended, I believe. And that is all. As we mentioned earlier, Kai Pearce-Paul is on the bench. Moving on to the Sharkies and the Roosters. Nicho Hynes, the talk of the town, has been named after his withdrawal last week. Really good. We need that. Keep an eye on it, though. He may still be a late withdrawal. So, yeah, just keep a firm eye on that one. But good to see him. Good to see him named. The rest of their team is very stock standard. Moving over to the Roosters, not Dominic Young, he's playing, so just will up, he is playing. Joey Manu has been left out of the squad. I believe that is for a concussion that he suffered late in the game, so he'll miss probably just this week, maybe next week, we'll have to see. But that means Junior Ponga or Fataliga Ponga, if that's how it's pronounced. Apologies if it's not. It's probably not. But Ponga comes into the centres. Such a big fan of Ponga. I'd love seeing him get all his opportunities, but he is in there at centre. Beyond that, for the Roosters, their team lines up the exact same. A really, really strong team. Then we have the Rabbitohs and the Cowboys. Now, the Rabbitohs, they welcome back a few faces. Alex Johnston returns from injury on the wing, as does Jacob Gagai. So anybody who has Gagai or bought him in and forgot to trade him back out when he wasn't named or he was a late withdrawal, massive wins for you because he is back. Alex Johnston, not really our option this year. I don't think any Rabbitohs players are, except Gagai if you owned him as a cheapie, which means Isaac Tuitupo Thompson into the centres, by the way, and Michael Cheekham out. Rest of their team is the same, except for Tane Milne coming onto the interchange at the expense of last week's debutant, Matt French. Moving on to the Cowboys, Murray Taulagi returns from injury on the wing, which sees Semi Valamai drop out of the squad. The rest of the team is the same. Hylam Lukey was a late start last week, and he has been named to start this week with Kulikefu Finifuiaki on the bench. So as we said, sell him if you own him. Harrison Edwards played last week, but is out. Jordan McLean is also back, but not too Supercoach relevant there. The Warriors, big news here. Tane Torpiki has been named at fullback. As we said, Chance Nickel Klukstad going to 5'8", and Tamare Martin going to halfback. Sean Johnson is out for, they expect 4 weeks, I believe it was. So tough old there. Ali Leatawa is into the centres for Rocco Berry. Now, we reported that Rocco Berry had been dropped. That was not the case. He's actually out with a fractured hand. Expected only to be a short-term injury, but I'm such a big fan of Ali. Hopefully he can keep that spot, and that's no knock to Rocco Berry. I thought Rocco Berry's been really good this season. Tough few weeks, as we know, for the Warriors, but I think he's been good before that. But I'd love to see Ali secure a spot. He's such a gun. Adam Pompey is the other centre, of course, and Marcelo Montoya comes back in for Ed Cossey. Not too much to note Supercoach relevance-wise in that, though. Once again, Mitch Barnett is named at second row as well, and Jacob Laban is onto the bench. For the Panthers, the big news, of course, Nathan Cleary out for 8 weeks, I believe it is. This pushes Jerome Luai to halfback, Jack Cole to 5'8". So very interesting one there. Definitely wait a couple of weeks or at least 1 week and have a look at Cole, see how he fits in. Could be a nice cheap option at 5'8" for maybe Lockie Galvin if you still own him. But not much else going on there for the Panthers. We move on to the Storm and the Eels. The Storm have named an unchanged 17. Jack Holworth was a late inclusion last week onto the bench for, what's his name? Joe Chan, which is a little bit of a kick in the dick to me who sold Chan expecting him to just be an AE nightmare. But now it's good for people who still own him because he's not going to lose cash and you can move him on whenever you want. So really good in that aspect. Sua Falongo once again at fullback. For the Eels, Blaise Salungi again at fullback, but they've named a unchanged 17 as well, except maybe Brendan Hands might have dropped out. But regardless, I liked how the Eels played. Their defence wasn't good, but they had some attack in this side, so I don't mind them sticking strong to that side. Tigers and Dolphins. The Tigers have Brent Naden moving back into the centres with Solomon Olamalo coming back onto the wing, the Union export. The rest of their side, pretty stock standard. John Bateman is out for an extended period with, I think it was another pec injury. So Alex Seyfarth starts at second row. Alex Twall also comes in at lock forward for Isaiah Papali'i, who is out for the 1 week with suspension. For the Dolphins, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow finally returns, which of course pushes Trey Fuller to 18th man. So he is out. Once again, we'll talk a little bit about Trey Fuller now because that wraps us up on all of the team list news regardless. So if you own Trey Fuller, you definitely can look to sell. It's not a bad point to sell. He's made a bit of money. You can move him on to someone like Scott Drinkwater with their good draw and a decent buy coverage. At least they cover 13. What you should do is definitely look at your round 13 players. I think you'll be relatively surprised with how many people you have. Now, I had a look earlier, and off the top of my head, this could be wrong. I own Brayley, DeBellin, Curran, May, Hughes. There's 5 already. Crichton, Nickera, Pierce, Paul, Smithies is, what's that? Crichton, Nickera, Pierce, Paul, Smithies gets us to 9 players. Sure, Crichton might play Origin, so let's say there's 8 players. We keep going. Nico Hynes is 9. Say he plays Origin. Let's keep it at 8. We then have Dylan Brown is 9. Lockie Galvin, I think, plays it, would be 10. Then we have, I can't remember if Manly do. Let's have a quick look over on this side. Draw. Actually, we can bring it up over here, can't we? There you guys are. Should be able to see that one now. So Seagulls do not, Tigers do not. So let's run through that again. These are the teams that are playing it for all your reference. Cowboys do. There we go. So once again, that's Brayley, DeBellin, Curran, May, Hughes is 5. Not Crichton because he'll probably play Origin. Nickera is 6. Kai Pierce-Paul is 7. Smithies is 8. Hynes we won't count. Brown is 9. Ramian is 10. Iro is 11. Armstrong is 12. And and that's it. So I have 12 at the moment, I think, if I calculated that right. That's already, that can get you by. So just make sure that you are counting those numbers. Round 13, you'll just be pleasantly surprised. A lot of players that you already own are going to feature in that round. Just look for players that are playing 2 or more bye rounds. So you want to be covered for 16 and 19 if possible. But when we are looking at trading someone like Trey Fuller, who does play 13, 16 and 19, you can afford to trade him because you might not need him for 13, but he's good to have for 16 and 19. Would you trade him to a Scott Drinkwater who does play round 13 but doesn't play 16? Potentially. Cowboys have a decent draw, but Cowboys have also been struggling. They should have beaten the Titans, right? You'd expected Drinkwater to score really well. Didn't happen. Do you target someone like that? Do you think you can hold Trey Fuller and just wait for, Hammer's back this week, he'll probably play again next week, but then Origin comes, Hammer goes to Origin, Trey Fuller's straight into that fullback jersey. He's going to be really pretty important to have during that period maybe. So it's just one to keep an eye on. I'm not in that boat where I have to worry about that, obviously not owning Trey Fuller. But it's a bit of a head scratcher, something you guys can think about. I can give you my opinion, so if you want to reach out in a DM or as a comment, do so, and we can discuss that and maybe try and figure out what's the best situation for you, the best thing for you to do in that situation. But yeah, Trey Fuller at this moment, he's not playing. So just that's all we have to us this week. 18th man, Hammer's back. He's not going to play this week, probably won't play next week. Do you hold on? Up to you guys. But now let's get into the trade talks. Now, as we do around here, we start trade talks with a little segment on our Instagram, our pod players. So let's head up here. Best buys round 11, point of difference players. Of course, pod stands for point of difference. You can see the 3 players there. I'm going to go through on these slides. If you're listening on an audio platform and you can't see this, that's where you head over to the Instagram and you can see this. I mean, Spotify is cool, or if you any other audio platform, you just have it playing in the background. Load up Spotify, load up Instagram, have a look at this, and I'll still be talking over the back. So the best buys round 11, we'll start with Greg Marju. Once again, all the stats up on screen there, or if you're looking on your device, on your phone, you can see all of that there. That's all the key important information and stats that you want to know when buying these players. And I'll read through what I've said on the right-hand side. So Greg Marju, the best scoring centre wing of 2023, got himself his second meat pie of the season in round 10 on his way to 87 points for the week. He averaged 77 points per game last season, so hopefully this is the turning point for Greg to get back to anywhere close to those scores. At only 500k, his base and evasive stats alone mean that this is essentially as low as he will get, so you can jump on with little to no risk and hopefully reap the rewards. He does have the bye in 2 weeks' time, but it's wedged firmly between games against a depleted Titans outfit and the Bulldogs on the round 13 bye round. If you're worried about their matchups after that, keep in mind that the Storm will potentially rest their Origin stars for the round 14 clash, so that helps out a little bit as well. A near perfect low ownership trade-in target for those looking to jump ship from the Warriors' sinking boat of players. There we are. That's why we've got Greg Marju in this pod players thing. He's not the most pod player in terms of, knowledge. Everybody wants Greg Marju and knows what he can accomplish. He's only low ownership because of Knights have been struggling. He hasn't been scoring tries. He's been injured. A lot of factors go into it, but 2% ownership, 515k for Greg Marju. I think it's a great trading target. He's not like, as I said, not a really low ownership. He's a really low ownership. He's not someone who's going to fly under the radar. He's not a pod in the sense that nobody's talking about him. People are talking about him, but the fact that he is low ownership is why we've included him in here. And hopefully these stats and what I've just said can help sway your decision. We'll move on to our second player, though, Jeremiah Nanai. Once again, stats up on screen or on your device. I'll read through what I've said. Jeremiah Nanai. Coming off scores of 104, 89, and 91, Nanai has been killing it in a position where upside has been hard to come by. He is quite expensive off the back of those scores, but with games against the Rabbitohs, Tigers, Roosters without their Origin stars in round 13, and a floundering Warriors team in the mini-bye round of round 14, it's almost now or never to bring him in. If you're looking to sell the bench to Kai Pearce-Paul, finding a bit of cash to upgrade him to Nanai could be a fantastic play. As again, we've said it there. If you look at the thing with Nanai, he's always been quite try-reliant. Less so this year. His base of 41 isn't amazing, but it's solid. He's scoring points of, averaging 14 points, as you can see in the graph, of scoring each game. So there's 55 points a game from scoring and base alone. If you're taking away the scoring points, he's still doing enough in evade and evade and creative to still just keep him around that mid-50s mark. And then throw in tries, which we know he can come by. We talk about, yes, he's attack reliant. Attack comes his way. That's why 104, 89, 91 in these last 3 weeks are fantastic scores. The Cowboys target him in their attacking structures. He can score against anyone. He's got a really good bye schedule. I really like Jeremiah Nanai in the second row position. He's at 10% ownership, so he's bordering on not being pod. I'd still say that's pod. We do pods as 10% or below. We've gone above once, I think, with Isaiah Yeo maybe. But that's still low ownership. That means 90% of players don't own Jeremiah Nanai. So definitely pod if you look at it that way. I think he's a great buy-in target, not just for round 13, which, as we said, you probably are covering anyway. But I think for the future rounds, just that draw, really, really good. And he's got attacking upside, which second row, there's not too many players that do have the attacking upside that he does. I mean, there's Angus Crichton that comes to mind, maybe a Eli Katoa, but I think Jeremiah Nanai is right up there with the best of them. So keep an eye on him. Definitely a good pod target this week. And lastly, we have Jeremy Marshall-King. Once again, stats on screen, and I will read through what I've said. As we should all be aware by now, the Dolphins are the only team who play all 3 of the major bye rounds, and JMK headlines the list of players to target for that period. He's averaging the 3rd most points in his position this season, and he always looks so close to going big. If you wanted to go even more pod, Reed Marnie is another good shout, but I think Jeremy Marshall-King's ceiling and his draw push him slightly ahead. If you still own a mid-range cheapy hooker, then it's a good time to upgrade them. However, if you don't, it could be time to move on Grant, Appy, or Robson before Origin. Now, you don't have to get on him this week, but I've elected to include him this week because he does have that matchup against the Tigers. So there could be attacking stats to come there. Jeremy Marshall-King, he hasn't gone insanely big this year, but he looks so close. He's a really good attacking hooker, basing 44. So once again, floor's always there, which you would expect in the hooker position. He's averaging more than Harry Grant this year, and everybody's always talking about Harry Grant. Harry Grant's going to be missing through this origin period. Jeremy Marshall-King's not. In fact, as we said, he's playing all 3 major bye rounds. So he's going to be very important to have through that. Yeah, really good upcoming draw. I think he's a great trading target. You could do it next week. He's got a break-in of an 82, so he might drop a little bit of cash. But against the Tigers, he could very well hit that or even go bigger. So I think it's a good time to bring him in if you want to certify your team for that origin period, for those bye rounds. And just, he's probably someone who you can hold at hooker for the rest of the season. Just hold him as a gun there, partner him with Harry Grant for the run home or whatnot. I'm not sure. But yeah, definitely someone that you want to be looking in this week. As we mentioned, Reid Marnie is another good shout. We haven't got all his stats up on screen. We might still look at him next week. We'll have to have a look at that then. He is another option. He's lower ownership than Jeremy Marshall-King. But as I said, Marshall-King at 8% is still well and truly pod. Marnie's a decent shout, but we have JMK above him. Another player who we didn't put in this week's Chip and Chase, that's me. This week's pod players is Tolo Kula, who we mentioned earlier. Just simply his draw keeps me away. But if he comes out and kills the Broncos, every chance I make a post about him next week. But this is this week's pod players. Once again, that's Jeremy Marshall-King, Jeremiah Nanai, and Greg Marju. All up on the Instagram, so please go and follow on the Instagram. Go give this a like, comment. Let me know who you think should be included in these or who's someone that you're looking at. Just give it a bit of love, guys. I work pretty hard on this stuff. I'd love to see you guys interacting and telling me that you appreciate or you find this stuff interesting. But we'll move back into my team. So what am I looking to do trade-wise? Well, we mentioned Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad is going. It's a sad day. I love Charnze as a human, as a player, as a Warriors fan. It always helps. I've loved him for my Supercoach team as someone that nobody owns. But at 5'8", I can't do it. I can't do it. He's not the biggest issue of my side. Obviously, he's scoring more than Dallin. He's also $200K more expensive than Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. So, yeah, I think I get rid of him. I would like to keep him. We could toy around with the trades. Let's toy around with the trades I want to do. Now, there's a lot of trades I could be doing. Let's have a look at Dallin, and let's spoil it right now. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck are the 2 players to go. One of the pod players that we mentioned will be coming in Greg Marju. The other is Dominic Young. So I could bring them both in. I could, bring Young and Marju in for Watene-Zelezniak and Tuivasa-Sheck, and then I could keep Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad. It's not a bad shout because Charnze has been scoring a lot better than Dallin. However, if I don't do Dallin, how do I do this now? Do I have to do this all again? That's such a shame. Let's have a look at what we're doing here. If we sell Charnze instead of Dallin Watene-Zelezniak and we still sell Roger, who's injured, and we bring in the same 2 players, we bring in Dominic Young and Greg Marju. We have to move somebody to fullback first, Greg Marju. It leaves us with 199,000, almost 200K in the bank. I think that's better. I think it's just better to build the team around. Yeah, I don't expect the world from Dallin. He hasn't been scoring well. I don't predict him to score well against the Panthers. I don't predict him to score well without Shaun Johnson at all. But I also don't expect Charnze to score well at 5'8", because I think it takes away his best attributes. His ball running, his 300 meters a game, and his sweeping plays. He might still, chime in on that sweeping play, but we'll have to see. I think it's just a better sell this week. He's got 100 break even, as does Dallin, to be fair. It's sad to be parting ways with him because I love him so dearly, but I think it's the right thing to do. I also am stubborn, and I want to believe that Dallin will come good and he will repay the faith that my trade, the trade I spent on him was. Charnze has already repaid the faith of my trade. I traded him in for James Tedesco after his injury, and he's repaid that with all of his scores. He's done well. Dallin I brought in, and he's done nothing. So he has to earn the right to be traded out of this side. He has to do some really good things to earn his right to either stay or get out of this side. So he's going to stay. As we said, Chance is off. And the two players we bring in are Dominic Young and Greg Marju. Really happy with that. Shame we didn't do Young last week or, boosted to get rid of Roger. But I guess we keep a boost in the end. It just would have been nice to get those 160 points. But hey, we can't lament on that too much further. In terms of other trading targets, let's actually reverse that real quick. We will still do that. Don't worry about that. But I want to see what everybody else is trading in my team. So the most traded in, not in my team, Sam Walker. I can see why people are doing that. Lots of people would be selling Nathan Cleary. I'm not a Cleary owner, so I don't need to do that. I'm not going to do that. I've still got Luke Brooks. At the moment, Luke Brooks seems like a great halfback to have, considering how tough that position is. We do want, as we've said, I would like to own Mitch Moses. Now, he was meant to be back this week, not the case. Might be back next week. I'm not going to bring him in until I see that he's either playing Origin or not playing Origin. If he's playing Origin, I'm not going to do Mitch Moses. In terms of Sam Walker, I'm just going to avoid. I don't mind the idea. A lot of people bringing him in. It's, as I said, it's a lot of people getting rid of Cleary, so it's a great moving down trade. For me, I'd have to move up to Walker. I need to find 200k to do that. I need to find, 220k? 220k. Yeah, I need to find money to do that. We know Walker can go low. He's been playing some incredible footy. Tough draw, though. He's got the Sharkies this week. He's got a break-even of 78. He might not hit that. You could bring him in the week after, but as I said, you're most likely trading out Cleary. Regardless, Walker, is he a good trade-in? He's not a bad one. I think he's a decent trade-in because halfback's a tough position, but it's not for me. Scott Drinkwater, he's the next most traded in, not in my side. A lot of people selling Trey Fullers, a lot of people selling the injured Tom Trebojevic. I think Drinkwater's a great trading target. I could do that over a Greg Marju if I wanted to, and just go Charles Nickel-Klugstad to Scott Drinkwater for the exact same price. No, $400 difference between those two. So I could do that in one swift hit. I don't mind that. I like the Cowboys draw. They've got the Rabbitohs this week. But I think I prefer having Greg Marju in my... Is Scott Drinkwater a better option than Greg Marju? That's a great question. No, I think, again, talking about the money side of things, I'd prefer to have the money of Greg Marju, and I prefer his... He's available for 16 as well, I think. Let's have a quick look at that. We got that up here. Knights play round 16. No, they don't. So Cowboys and Knights don't play it. Do they play 14, though? Yeah, they do. The Cowboys do as well. Oh, this is interesting. Cowboys have a better draw. I think, as I said, I'm just doing it for money. I want that cash. This is all just changed a bit now. So Dominic Young is actually now the second most brought in, not in my side. I would still bring in Young, which I'm going to do. Dylan Edwards, the next most brought in player, not in my side. Love that. If you own Dylan Edwards, surely you're still very low owners. 12% is up to. Geez, you're killing it if you own Dylan Edwards. Problem is he's 920k. That's absurd. It's too far for me to get to. If you owned him, if you got on him, you're a weapon and you're loving life. Now he's going to be kicking with Cleary out. I love that. I can't get to it. I think I ignore it. Maybe he plays Origin. Who knows? But I'm going to ignore that for now. If you are choosing to get on Edwards, I think it's a good shout. Matt Burton, 762k is quite expensive, but he has been going good. He's halfback 5/8 dual. So again, if you're looking to sell Cleary, great. I think he's the best trade-in target because you can then... Dylan Brown will get his halfback dual soon. You can switch and swap those two. But also someone who might be playing Origin. So there's a little bit of risk there, but I don't mind it. He is quite expensive, though. Now let's look in the most traded out. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck speaks for itself. He's out for a long period of time. Kaipius Paul, people looking to sell him straight away. I'm going to hold a week or two. He does play round 13. Every chance he ends up starting with Tyson Frizzell in a bit of doubt anyway, and he scores well. Dallin, I understand why people are selling. He's washed Love Dallin. Like, this isn't actually... whenever I speak of players, it's not normally putting shit on them. I'll put shit on from a bit of a Supercoach perspective, but a lot of that's also putting a bit of shit on myself for trading them in or owning them or just the decisions I make. I think Dallin is a fantastic footballer. Let's put that out there. And if you're watching this, Dallin, reach out. Ruben Garrick, next most sold out. I can't understand this. Not a good score, high break even. He's still 750k. You can move him on to someone. Like, there is value in that. But it's Ruben Garrick. I think you just hold him for the season. I don't know why you're looking to sell. Nico Hynes, next most sold. That doesn't make any sense. He's been named, so you don't sell. And even if you did sell, who are you going to? There's no Cleary. There's no good halfbacks. You hold Hynes. So now that all of that is out of the way, we will continue to do the same 2 trades that we're looking at. So that's Chance. I will toy with this whole Scott Drinkwater thing for just a second. And we'll go Roger to... what's his name? Dominic Young. I'd have $400 left if I did that. See, when trades like this happen, it almost makes me want to do it. When it's something that you can get in like by the skin of your teeth, it's like it's too good to be true. It's like it's a sign that you should do it. So I'm very tempted to do that. Chans and Roger to Drinkwater and Young. But as I said, I believe in the money that I'm going to get from Marju is going to be a bit better. I know Marju has the buy coming up. So that is a bit of a sticky situation. Is it next week? Yeah. But the Titans this week. Yeah, I'm bringing him in. Titans playing good footy. They're ravaged with injury. I don't think they can do too much this week. So those are my 2 trades. We bring in Dominic Young and Greg Marju. So let's look at Sit v Starts. Now, we're in a good spot where our team is essentially all playing. So the Sit v Starts for my team. I have the options of Jaden Brayley, Terrell May, Kai Pearce-Paul if I wanted to, Morgan Smithies, Luke Brooks, Lockie Galvin, Dominic Young, Greg Marju, Kale Iro, and Davey Armstrong. Essentially, everyone on my team plays and is playable. The only ones I'm not looking at are Sam Hughes and Viliami Fifita. Let's start by getting issues out of my side. Terrell May has to start for Jack DeBellin, who's on the bye, so there's one of those out of the way. My second row, I'm pretty set on them. So, yeah, now let's just look at reserves. So, Dominic Young, well, let's just start you over Dallin and we'll work out whether we're playing Dallin this week. We will start Garrick, Holmes, Dominic Young, and Ramian. Really happy with those players. I think they're solid lock in. Greg Marju definitely getting a reserve. Actually, we're going to start him this week over, it doesn't really matter who we play him over. Let's play him over Garrick. Because I think with the Knights against the Titans, I'm going to VC Greg Marju. I really like that idea. Garrick will still get a reserve. I know they've got a tough game. Who have they got again? Broncos. Every game's at Magic Round this week as well. So we talk about home. It doesn't matter. Nothing's at home unless you are the Broncos or the Dolphins maybe technically as well. But so, yeah, Garrick, you're still getting a reserve just because we know what you can do. Kale Iro gets a reserve. I know it's against the Roosters, but he's just got really good base. Davey Armstrong against the Titans, he gets another reserve. So there's Garrick, Iro, and Armstrong with reserves. We lock them in. Now we decide Galvin's one. Galvin, the Tigers have the Dolphins. I'm not too convinced on Galvin anymore. He's not a bad shout, but doesn't really have the ceiling that I want from him. Now we can go to Luke Brooks. Again, that's against the Broncos though, so I don't really want to. What happens if Nico Hynes a late withdrawal again? Do I just cop an AE? Who's my AE again this week? Probably Sam Hughes. Yeah, I can cop AEs with my team. So Luke Brooks, not my favourite option. Morgan Smithies, not a bad option. If I just wanted base points, it's actually quite decent. Against the Bulldogs, it's not a bad shout. Jaden Brayley, also against the Titans, could be scoring could be assisting. Not really sure he's got that in him though. There's always the threat of him not playing 80 and Phoenix Crossland replacing him. So I'm going to stay away from it. I think I might change that. Darren Martinez-Lesniak against the Panthers. I hate it. He's got upside and I'm stubborn, so I'm so close to doing it. It also gives me a player to have in that game, which I just like having someone that I can watch. If the Warriors are going to score, it's probably going to be on Dallin's edge. I mean, we keep saying that though, and they don't score. I don't know. I think I'm going to put it on Dallin now just because, A, I want to watch a player in that game, so it'd be cool to own Dallin. I own Dallin. It'd be cool to have someone playing in that. He has upside. He has the most upside of anyone on my that I was choosing between, despite the fact he hasn't really displayed that this season. Yeah, look, I'll just throw it on Dallin. It could end up being a late change to Jaden Brayley. I do like the idea of him against the Titans. If Kai Pearce-Paul is named to start, I'll probably just put it on him and forget about everything else. But for now, I'm just going lock and load all of my centre wing fullbacks. That's Armstrong, Iro, Watene Zelezniak, and Garrick are my reserves this week. So that's that. In terms of captain options, it's not the most clear-cut week. We have a few tough matchups, like Raiders and Bulldogs start us off the round. You're not captaining anyone in that game, let's be real. Seagulls, Broncos, you could VC a Reece. Ooh, you are right. You can VC Reece Walsh. Sorry, Greg. I actually believe in you a lot against the Titans. Who do I believe in more? Valentine Holmes or Greg Marju? It's got to be Valentine Holmes against the Cowboys. So we'll get to that. Anyway, Broncos and Manly, Reece Walsh, VC option. Lock and load that, I think. Manly have been struggling. I think without Trebojevic, it's just going to make things tougher. I love the idea of this Broncos team against that. So Reece Walsh, really good VC option. You're not VCing anyone from Manly, not a Garrick or anything, in my opinion. Titans, Knights, you don't own, there's no players in these teams that you are going to VC or captain. There's Greg Marju, if you believe in that, who we were just mentioning as someone that I was going to do. I don't mind that play at all. I just prefer Reece Walsh if you own Reece Walsh and you have to decide between the two. But potentially Greg Marju. Sharkies, Roosters. You can always go Hynes. I think he's just going to score well no matter what, no matter who he's up against. But it's a side that I want to avoid is the Roosters. I think they're playing some really good footy. So I'm not going to go near Hynes, but I can understand that if you would. If you have any Roosters players, like your Tedesco's or Dominic Young based on last week's performance, I think it's too risky to go them against the Sharkies. So I'd be avoiding that game. But yeah, there's a lot of guns in that game, but I'd still be avoiding them. Rabbitohs, Cowboys. This is where it's interesting. If you bring in a Scott Drinkwater, you're probably captaining him. I didn't do it, obviously, but I actually like the idea of captaining Drinkwater. I'm going to captain Valentine Holmes against the Rabbitohs. I have a suspicion that the Rabbitohs do get up for this one. They've been playing better footy despite losing and all their circumstances. But Cowboys need to get a win. It's Suncorp, so it's a closer to their home game than it is the Rabbitohs. Yeah, I think Valentine Holmes is a good option there as a captain. Warriors, Panthers, if you own Dylan Edwards, I'd lock and load him as a captain and I wouldn't think twice. Goal kicking against a Warriors team who is in absolute shambles. Yeah, Dylan Edwards, he's probably the best captain option this week. Storm and Eels. There's not too many Storm players I'd even captain this year. You could look at Grant, but he's not scoring high. I wouldn't go Munster. I also think the Eels are a better team than people are, I guess, giving them credit for. I thought they played decent against the Broncos last week. Their defense let them down and their execution let them down, but they put themselves in a lot of attacking opportunities. And I thought they have a pretty darn good attack. So I'd avoid the Storm Eels game. And lastly, Tigers Dolphins. There's probably no one in that game yet you'd look to captain anyway. So the best options this week, Dylan Edwards against the Warriors is my number one. Valentine Holmes / Scott Drinkwater against the Rabbitohs is number two. And beyond that, I guess Nicho Hynes against the Roosters would be my third best captain option of the week. The best VC options are Reece Walsh, number one, against the Seagulls. I really like Greg Marju, number two, against the Titans. Anyone else that we could see as a possible VC? Not really, unfortunately. So probably only have the two VC options. You could, if you're feeling really rambunctious, go a Dominic Young or a James Tedesco or even a Nicho Hynes as a VC for that early Saturday game, and then have your C on the Sunday game of Dylan Edwards. If you own that, if you're so inclined, if you can pull that off, that's not a bad shout. But that's where I'm looking. I've got the VC on Reece Walsh against the Seagulls, and I've got the captain on Valentine Holmes against the Bunnies. And I believe after captains that wraps us up, doesn't it? It sure does. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning into this one. I really did enjoy doing these podcasts. I think a lot of it is to do with the support that you guys give me. As I said, the comments, the likes, the views, the messages, everything. I really, really appreciate it. So keep reaching out, keep asking questions, keep interacting. I thank you guys wholeheartedly. You're making this a bit of my dream, a bit of a reality, and it's all thanks to you guys. We're not making any money at the moment. Sure, it's something that we'd look to do down the track. At the moment, we're just operating based on passion and love for the game of rugby league, NRL, Supercoach, all of it that I spend my entire time doing. So thank you guys for tuning into this one. We'll be back again for the rest of our podcasts, our preview podcast. So if you're interested in the NRL side of things, we'll be having them coming in the coming days. As I said, got a lot more content on the way on the Instagram, so hopefully getting them up in the coming days as well. So go and give us a follow there at Chip and Chase Podcast. But that'll do us. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.